Hi. I'm really nervous to film this video, and yeah, you'll understand why in a little bit, but man, I haven't been this nervous to film since I was first starting YouTube. I'm your host, Prince Alex. I go by he, him pronouns if you don't know me. I'm taking off this, I'm too warm. Forgive the heater in the background, it's cold, and I don't want to turn it off, even though it's loud. I'm stalling, can you tell? Nervous laughs. And yeah, that title's not clickbait. I got to work for Mr. Sanders himself. I know that this is probably a shock to some of you folks, which I'll get into later, why you probably didn't know that I was in it, or why I haven't really been talking about it. Okay, there goes the heater. But that'll be something I get into in a bit. Also, sorry in advance, both to the audience and to editing Alex, because I'm probably going to be dissociating a lot during this, just because there's a lot to talk about. Yeah, there's a reason that I hadn't really talked about it yet, but I'll get into that in a bit. But, I just kind of wanted to share the experience with you folks, because I've seen other people, other artists from the project doing it too, and, you know, I figured, why not? So I guess I'm just going to start from the beginning. Also, ignore the Tic Tac in my mouth. We'll probably see them sporadically, because when I get nervous, my tummy hurts, and Tic Tacs help with that. So, once upon a time, back in, I think, April of this year, of 2020, back when I was still in my old apartment, back when I was less than 5,000 subscribers, I'll bet, back when I was still making Sanders Sides YouTube videos on the regular, Thomas tweeted out a tweet, as one does, saying like, hey, calling all artists. We want to do a Storytime Mad Libs where you folks help animate, or something like that. Something of the sort. And he was like, here's a business email. Email this with some of your work and maybe we'll contact you. And you know, me being me, Sandersides made special interest, super into animation and wanting to get into the industry a little bit, was like, hell yeah, I'll send in my work. So I put together my reel of, or a YouTube playlist of all the Sandersides animatics I'd done and posted, and I sent it in. And I heard nothing. I didn't get a response. And that was fine. I waited for a while, and then I saw other people on Twitter that I was following be told that they were going to be a part of it. And I was like, wow, that's really cool, and I'm really excited for those people. But I guess that means that I have a lot of work to do. And like, I wasn't like really upset at that time that I wasn't chosen, because I was like, you know, it taught me that I'm not ready to be in this industry yet, if that was something that I ever had wanted to do. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just use this to work more on my stuff and do better. And I did for a few months. And then come July, Thomas tweeted again being like, hey, we need a few more artists. Send your work into this email. And I was like, hell yeah, I'll try again. So I added a couple more animatics that I'd finished, and I sent it off to be viewed, and to my surprise, I got a message back from Quill saying like, hey, we'd be super interested in working with you. And I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna work for Thomas. So I immediately responded right away, because I was like, oh my gosh, if I don't say yes right away, then like, someone else is going to take up the spot. They're going to find someone better, so I got to snap it up right away. So I snatched it up, I messaged Quill back immediately. I was like, hell yeah, I want to do this. Obviously more professionally than that. I was so professional, like the most professional I could possibly be. They were like, great, so here's some forms you need to fill out. Here's like a contract and a W-9, and here's the Discord server. If this is something you want to be a part of, then just fill these out and then we're ready to go. And I was like, cool. And I kind of skimmed over the contract, and I was like, okay, basically, and like, I tried to read it, but like, I have ADHD, which isn't an excuse to not read contracts, because it has gotten me into trouble in the past. So I should have known. I think I did read it over thoroughly, but like, I'm not a professional animator. And a lot of people working on this were not professional animators. So like, I didn't completely understand what I was signing, so that was my fault. I should have done more research, but I was so nervous about, like, you know, losing my spot that I was just like, okay, it seems fine. There's nothing, like, super sketchy in here. I'll just sign it and send it off. And then I filled out my W-9 and sent it off, and I jumped into the Discord server. I think that was, like, the same night that the RWBY Volume 7 soundtrack dropped. And I only remember that because I was like, I joined the server, and I was like, so, does anybody else watch RWBY? Because because I was so excited about that. But yeah, so that was like July 30th, I think, that I got into the Discord server. And then I believe it was the next day, Quill messaged all of us. They were the one that was like in charge. Quill was the one who was in charge of pretty much everything. And there were about, I don't know, 30 animators, I think, in this Discord server. And Quill was like, cool, here's your part assignments. And I got assigned to Sleeping Beauty. I had 19 seconds of animation. Well, we had 3 different channels in our Discord server for this, for each of the stories that we were going to tell. There were 3 stories for, I don't know if you folks have watched the video, but there were 3 stories. There was the Rapunzel one, there was the Little Mermaid, and there was Sleeping Beauty. And I got assigned 19 seconds of Sleeping Beauty. And I was stoked, because I was like, yes, I finally get to put what little I learned from my, what happened to my hair? Hold on. I was like, yes, I finally get to put what little I learned from my short time in my professional animation class. I can finally put that to use. And I did. So we had 2 weeks to do however long of animation we got. I was super excited because I was one of the people who got the longest amount of time. I got a solid 19 seconds. Some people had like 5 seconds. I think a couple people had like 25 seconds. And I was like, wow, I'm on the upper end. So they must have like actually really liked my work. And I was like so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, this is really cool. And like, I was like, when I was working on it, I was so excited because I was like, is this gonna be like the thing that makes me like kind of like break out as a YouTuber? Like, is this going to be the thing that like gets people to like be like, hey, I know that guy, he worked on Storytime Ad Libs? Or like people would like, I'd at least get like a few people coming over to check out my channel, right? I was so excited for that. Plus like the fact that like, you know, I was gonna get to say I got to work for Thomas Sanders. Like that was so cool. And like I was like so bright-eyed and like starry-eyed and like, oh my gosh, this is happening. This is happening. But like I couldn't talk about it. So that was rough. I was like, I want to talk about this so bad, but I can't. We got our part assignments. There were about 10. No, I think there were like 20 people. So there must have been like 60 people working on this then. Because there were about 20 people per story. Because I was animator 19 and I was towards the end of Sleeping Beauty. And like, our deadline was August 12th, so we had just under 2 weeks to do this. And I was like, I am going to work so hard to get this done really well and early. I'm not even going to say on time, I'm going to get it in early. And I worked so hard. I was drawing so much every day. And like, I learned how important it was during that time, how important it is to do warm-ups before drawing. Because like 19 seconds, if you're animating that at like, if there's 24 frames per second and you're animating on 2s, which I think I was doing animating on 2s, that's like 12 frames per second. So 12 times 19 is like a lot. Wait, hold on. That's almost 20. So 12 times 2 is, so that's like just under 240 frames. Yeah, so I had to draw like maybe like around 200 pictures. And not only that, but like I'd only ever done animatics that were like super sketchy because I was like, I just gotta get it done and I gotta get it out. And that had been all my concern before. But this, I was like, I need to make this good. I need to make this fantastic, something that people are going to watch. I need to impress these people. I need to impress Thomas. I just have to do as well as I can. I have to make this the best thing I've ever made. So I worked really hard. I did like line art for it. I animated as much as I could before like I realized that if I kept going at that pace, then I wasn't gonna finish it at all, which I was terrified for. And like Quill had said when she first messaged me, was like, hey, we're just doing this, like, don't feel pressured to do, like, for it to be perfect. Just, we're interested in your style, just, this is just for fun, so, like, don't freak out about it. Don't make it, like, a big deal. Like, don't make it, not don't make it a big deal, but they were like, don't, like, feel pressured to make it perfect. But I was me, so I was like, I gotta make it perfect, you know? So, like, I did my best on it. I think I took a good amount of the whole 2 weeks And I think I might have turned it in a day or two early because like I eventually got to a point where like I think I fully animated like 2 parts, and then I was like, I'm not gonna get this done in time if I keep going at this pace. So I ended up like sacrificing a few animations. Plus I did a couple of like really weird angles that I didn't know how to animate. There was also the fact, which is also something that I was really super excited about, that prince that you see in Sleeping Beauty, that was me. I designed him. Mostly I designed him. Obviously some, not 100%, it wasn't 100% me, but I was the one who came up with the original base design. I was the one that threw in him being ace and trans, because I'm ace and trans, and I was like, hey, representation, baby. And the other people in the server helped me decide the color palette for him, for his clothing, because I was like, okay, he needs to be edgy, but I don't want to put him in only black clothing because the king is already in black clothing. So what other color palettes do you guys think of that are super dark and edgy? And someone suggested like, hey, maybe like dark purples and dark reds. And I was like, perfect. So I put them both in there. And I'm so glad that the other people working on that took a look at it before I finalized anything, because oh man, purple and red, at least the versions that I chose, so not, it was painful on the eyes. It was so painful on the eyes. There was just so much contrast and it clashed so bad. And like I didn't notice it because I was so excited about it. So I was like, look at my prince, look at my little baby, this is my son. And they were like, why don't you just pick one of the colors? And I was like, yeah, you're right. It was bad. Like they weren't like mean about it or anything, but they were like, maybe you should tweak it a little bit. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Yeah. So we finished it. We sent it off. We put them all in like this Google Drive document, and Quill took them and took them to the team to edit it together. That was the end of us like working on the project specifically. And then came like payment, which like we had to fill out, what's it called? Invoices. So we filled them out and sent them in. But we were never really given a time frame for when we were going to get paid. So while I was waiting for my payment, I kind of lost my bank account, because I was terrible with finances at that point, which, you know, nothing teaches you how to do better financially than getting fucked like that. Because, oh my gosh. But that happened while I was waiting for my payment for doing this. So I messaged Quill and I was like, hey, I don't know if you guys sent the payments in or not yet, but I don't have that bank account anymore. So is there a way that I could like just get a check or something? And he was like, yeah, sure, just like resend the invoice and like it's fine, don't worry about it. And I was like, cool. And then they sent it to my bank account anyway, and I'm actually really kind of lucky that I got it at all, because I paid off the overdraft fees, and then they sent me like a check of like the amount of money that I made. So I was like, oh cool. So like I very nearly didn't get the money, which was not fun. Nervous laughing. Yeah, and then that was the last that we heard of the project until I think it was October 21st. We didn't hear anything about the project until that day, until October 21st. We'd asked a couple of times, asking Quill like, hey, do you have any idea when, like any time frame for like when this might be coming out? And he was like, you know, like they're still working on it, so hopefully very soon. That was all that they could say about it. And we were like, okay, that's fine, whatever, it's not a big deal. And then on Twitter, on I think it was the 21st, I saw some of the patrons coming off of the monthly live stream. And they were like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. The Storytime Mad Libs is coming out on Friday. And all of us animators went, what? It's, what? They didn't tell us it was coming out on Friday. So the patrons found out before the people who worked on it did. And we had a Discord server for the aftermath of the Storytime Mad Libs, and I joined it, but I hadn't really been on it much. I'd been kind of more lurking just because I have social anxiety. I'm not super good at talking with people, so I just kind of lurk. But I sent them a message and I was like, is anybody else like kind of bitter about this? Because like we worked on it and we didn't even know before they did. And a lot of other people were like, yeah, this is not cool. A lot of us were a little bit bitter about it. I'm not going to say everyone because not everybody who worked on the project was in that server, and not everyone who was in the server was there when that was happening. So those of us that were there were kind of bitter, myself included. And we sent a message to the original Discord server where all the work had gone down, and we were like, hey, any word on when it's coming out? Kind of feigning innocence, like, did you just like forget to tell us? And we still got no answer. And then on Friday, Thomas was like, hey you guys, we have to delay it for a day. And it was like, okay, that's fine. While we had been waiting, a lot of us in that server started kind of bringing up, in the Aftermath server, we kind of started like talking and bringing up other concerns that we'd had. And it turned out that there were like a lot more concerns than we should have been comfortable with. One of the things was that we were told that we weren't allowed to talk about it even after the video came out, which is why I never made a video on it until now, because we had been told that we were kind of contractually obligated to keep it quiet even after it was done. Which, like, before, obviously, before it's posted, obviously it makes sense that we weren't allowed to talk about it, because they didn't want us to leak things, because, you know, a lot of us were, like, inexperienced. So it was like, yeah, that's fine. I didn't care about that, but we were told that we weren't allowed to talk about it after, and it was like, that's kind of sketch. A little bit, nervous. Okay. And then we kind of started talking about, like, the pay, because we did get paid for it. As I mentioned, I got a check that I almost didn't get because of my own mistakes. We started like actually talking about it because none of us had ever done big projects before. We were all super inexperienced animators. And someone looked it up. It might have been me, actually, now that I think about it. I don't remember if it was me or someone else. But we saw that the average pay for, like, industry, the lowest industry standard pay that we could find was $32 per second of animation. I think it was 32. It's 32 or 38. I don't remember. So like $32 per second of animation. We got paid $1.22 per second, which is severe underpayment. I was one of the people who had the most amount of who got paid the most because I did more, and I got like a solid like $24. And that was for like 2 weeks of work. And then and a lot of people ended up with like, someone said in the chat like that a lot of people ended up with like less money, or like money, like so little money that they wouldn't even be able to like go to the corner store and buy like a week of groceries or whatever. And none of us were really expecting to be paid a lot, obviously, because like it's like a small project. Like we weren't gonna be doing, it's not like we were like animating an entire TV show or anything. It's just one little video for someone that we looked up to. But let me tell you, that the absolute lowest, I did the math, and like for that I should have been like, if we had been paid like the regular standard, or like that lowest standard of like $32 or 38, I don't remember. I don't remember. I did the math and it was like I would have gotten like, so I would have been paid like at least $600. And I got 20. So, you know, when we found that out, when we all realized that, we were a little upset. And I was especially because, you know, I could have saved my bank account if we'd been paid fairly, but obviously it was all said and done. We'd all signed a contract. We weren't gonna like we couldn't fight it. Like, we'd signed the contract, we'd agreed to it, and like that was fine. I mean, it kind of wasn't, but you know. Yeah, and then we were all pretty upset about the fact that patrons got to find out when the video was being posted before us. I think there were a couple other issues too, but I can't quite remember what they were now because I'm a little bit nervous. Tic-tac time. Yeah, so we had some concerns. Some pretty pressing concerns about the fact. And we were like, well, maybe we'll send an email after it's all said and done, or maybe it was just like a mistake on their part, or maybe it's not a big deal. And then the video was posted on Saturday, and I don't think we got a message in the server even then from anyone on the team being like, hey, the video's out. I'm pretty sure someone else had to post it in the server first before they said anything to us. And then we found out that when they were getting ready to post it, they sent us a message back in like September or late August or something, asking us like, hey, how do you want us to credit you? And here's like a sheet to fill out of like your social medias and stuff so that we can properly credit you. And it was like, cool. And so we filled it out. And when I filled mine out, I was like, okay, should this be something that I want to do like professionally? Should my plans change? I will want my future employers to find me by name. So I gave them like my first and last name, which I don't broadcast on the internet. And I was like, here, like take this, and then that'll be for like anyone professional looking at my work. And then my social media handles will be how everyone else knows me. So like I gave them my YouTube name, I gave them my Twitter, and I was like, okay, that'll be how everyone else knows me. The people who know me from my channel, that's how they're going to find me. And then when the video came out, there wasn't any credit at first in the description. We had our names down at the bottom corner. I guess it would have been on this side, like the bottom corner down here. And that was it. And of course we all were upset about that, like really upset. I was in Dollar General when the video dropped, and when I learned that, I was like shaking because I was so mad and hurt. I remember like standing in the Halloween aisle and calling my sister and like almost like in tears from fury because I was like, they didn't even like they had us do all this, and like all this is happening. There were a couple of artists that were like, we gotta fix this. So they went onto Thomas's Twitter, onto his tweet where he tweeted about it, and were like, hey, here's like all the credits to the artists and stuff. And we kind of made a fuss about it. We messaged the Discord server too with the people, the team in it. Quill messaged us and was like, hey, sorry about the mistake. There was just a mix up. We put the stuff in the description now. And it was like, cool. And then we looked in and they'd only put in our Instagrams with our names, which is fine. Cause like, obviously there's a description limit. There's a character limit in the description. So like obviously they couldn't fit every single one of our social medias in there. So like that wasn't like specifically a huge deal, but by the time that they did that, there had been 40,000 people already that saw the video. So that was 40,000 people that, and that's assuming that they even read the description. That's 40,000 people that never saw credits for us unless they went back and rewatched the video, which if people rewatch the video, they're not going to go into the description. Even if they're watching it for the first time, they're probably not going to go into the description. So that was fun. A lot of us were really hurt, myself included. Not all the animators, because again, not all of us were in the Discord server. Not all of us were online when all these things were happening. I feel like I'm missing some parts too, that like other things happened, but we kind of got together. We like wrote a letter being like, hey, we know that we signed a contract, so like we're not trying to change things for us, but in the future, if you're to do another project, here's some suggestions on some things that maybe you could consider not doing. So we wrote that together, and after like a week or two, we sent it. So, yeah, around that time in October when that happened, when it first happened, you might have noticed a sudden stop in Sanders' sides or Thomas content at all in general from me. And this is why. Because I was really, really hurt and heartbroken about it. Because this year had been like a lot in terms of like things that have happened with people that I look up to. I found out at the beginning of the year that my choir director from high school, who I practically worshipped, he was a predator. Maybe not a predator, but he was definitely having relations with students, which that was terrifying and awful to find out. I had a friend that I'd been looking up to for about 3 years that we very suddenly stopped being friends, and I kind of took off rose-tinted glasses and realized that she was not a good person at all. And then this, I don't remember if this was like in the middle of it or right after, but I don't know how many of you follow Rooster Teeth or Achievement Hunter, but there was a certain main cast member of Achievement Hunter that was revealed to be an absolute monster of the Predator, and this was happening either in the middle of it or after all that went down and was revealed. And that man from Achievement Hunter had been someone that I used to look up to as kind of a pseudo-father figure. And I was still really hurting from that, even though I wasn't really in the Achievement Hunter fandom anymore. That was like a lot to learn. You know, someone that you used to look up to being someone so horrible. And I was still hurting from all that when all this started going down with Thomas. And I knew, realistically, it wasn't Thomas's fault. Because, like, none of us ever spoke to Thomas directly in the middle of all this. He's a busy guy. And he wasn't involved in this, like, anyway. So, I don't, like, blame him. I don't think none of it was his fault. At least as far as I know. But I was still, like, reeling from what happened with the guy from Achievement Hunter and the snowballing effect of everyone else that year. And I was so scared of losing Thomas that way too. So I kind of ran for the hills, and I unfollowed him everywhere. Yeah, because the end of this month is going to be the 4-year anniversary of when I started watching his content. And I was so scared that he was going to turn out to be like them too, so I kind of just panicked and I unfollowed him. I cut off my favorite special interest because I was scared of being hurt again. Why am I getting so emotional? This happened so long ago. Yeah, and that was, and like, when it was going down, I saw one of the other artists, I'm not gonna say who, of course, but someone had, like, kind of made it implied that the prince from Sleeping Beauty had been, like, a group effort, and I took so much pride in making him and him being my own, so I was really hurt by that. And I messaged Thomas on Instagram, and I doubt he saw it. I know, realistically, he gets so many messages a day, so I never really thought that he was intentionally ignoring me, but I messaged him and was like, hey, I just want you to know that this is true. I don't need, like, any credit or anything, but, like, I just want you to know. And I sent it to him once while he was online, and then I sent it to him, like, bumped it a few more times when he was online, and he didn't see it, or he didn't respond. So I was super, super hurt. And I just, like, cut off everything. I unfollowed a lot of fanders on Twitter unless I was really close friends with them and all that. So it really sucked for a while. Like, this had been something that I've been so looking forward to, and then it kind of turned into, like, a nightmare. And, like, we were told that it was, like, a lot of miscommunication, and I believe that. Because, like, this is, as far as we know, like, this is, like, the first time that they've done anything like this, working with a bunch of fans to do stuff like that. And, like, that's fine. They didn't completely understand what they were doing. At least that's what I'm hoping happened. I can't say for certain. But, like, yeah, I'd been, like, so excited. And I thought it was going to be, like, my breakthrough, finally. And, like, I was finally getting to do work that I'd always dreamed of. I got to work for someone I'd always dreamed of working for. Because, like, whenever I have, like, a special interest, like, at least from Pokemon on, I've always, like, anytime I get a special interest, I kind of always dream of either working for the people or the company that makes that. Hold on, I gotta change my battery. Anytime I have like a special interest, I always dream of like working for the people who make it or working with those people. And you know, Thomas was not an exception to that. I straight up literally daydreamed for like 3 years about getting to work for him. And then it finally happened and I was like, wow. And then it was just kind of a disaster. I mean, it wasn't like completely a disaster because like I still get to say like, hey, I got to work for Thomas, which is really cool. Like, I don't want to make it sound like the whole thing was like a negative experience because it wasn't. There was a lot of things that was like really cool about this whole thing. And like, I can't say that I regret doing it, but I also can't say that I don't, you know? Like, if I had known that this was going to happen when I first signed up to do it, it would have been like, I don't know if the bad could have outweighed the good, but I also don't know if the good could have outweighed the bad. It's like a very weird thing. I don't know if I can even explain what I'm feeling, because it was like, there was so much good stuff that happened that was kind of spoiled by the bad, but there was a lot of bad stuff that happened that was like shined up by the good. Polished by the good, I guess. I guess it kind of makes it like a neutral experience. I don't know. But yeah, even when that first kind of started happening, I felt very... Because we were told that we weren't allowed to talk about it at first. We eventually got it figured out that it was just like a miscommunication. But not being allowed to talk about it kind of made me feel like really alone in what happened. And like, I know that I shouldn't have felt alone because we did have that whole Discord server between the rest of us that like I could have talked to people. So like I didn't have to feel alone. Now this isn't me trying to convince anyone to, like, if this is to happen again, don't work for Thomas. Like, I'm not saying that because like obviously, hopefully they're going to learn. Hopefully it's not going to be repeated. So like if you want to work for Thomas, I'd say go for it. Give it a shot. Do it. But I guess I just wanted to share my experience. Editing Alex add this part in earlier. There was actually like straight up a time, actually it was like only like a week or so ago that I was heavily considering making a video to be like, hey, I'm not making any Sanders related content anymore. Because like, I kept getting comments about it, which happens because I was originally a Sandersides YouTuber. So like, or not originally, but like, that's how most people found me, was through Sandersides. And like, I guarantee you folks, if I had been doing the Unisonis project like 6 months ago, you know it would have been all Sandersides, or at least like 90%, because like, it's such a big special interest for me. But like, because all this happened, now it's been like a whole hodgepodge of different stuff. But like, you might have noticed that like I've been slowly kind of getting back into the fandom on Twitter. I mean, you're seeing that I'm wearing my Roman shirt. I was wearing my Virgil sweatshirt at the beginning of this. And this is actually the first time that I've worn these things since this all started. Like, I guess the reason that I came back is because like I've kind of gotten over those like irrational fears of like Thomas is gonna turn out to be someone horrible, because I know it wasn't him. Or like, I at least highly doubt it, because he didn't have anything to do. He didn't have much of anything to do with the project. So, but there was just like, I was so afraid that I just like ran. And I've been slowly getting back because I missed him a lot. Like, it's really hard to just like, something that you love so much just so suddenly like have to rip yourself away from it, because I was so hurt and upset. I feel like I've said that a lot. And like, that's like really hard to do, especially when it's like a special interest when you're autistic. Like, that's not easy. It's not fun. And there was really like not a single day that went by where I didn't miss him. Like, if you follow me on Twitter, all those tweets that you've seen since like October that are just like, I miss him, those were all about Thomas. Like, I'm not gonna lie, 100% about Thomas. And then, I don't know, just about a week ago before filming this video, I was just like, you know what? I miss him too much. I don't, like, I was hurt and stuff, and I still am. I'm still upset, but like, I was just making myself so much more miserable by just completely getting rid of him from my life. So I was just like, okay, I'm gonna start off slow. And I still am starting off slow. I'm not like responding to tweets yet and stuff. I don't know. And I keep like acting like things are gonna be the same Like, that's something that I need to, like, work on, is the fact that, like, I'm, like, pretending that, like, now that I'm back in the fandom, things are going to be exactly the same as they were before I left. But they're not. Like, whether I like it or not, this has changed things. I mean, I'd say between me and Thomas, but, like, I'm just a fan, you know? Like, I'm not, like, we don't have, like, a relationship other than, like, fan and stan. A fan-stan relationship. Wait, that's the same thing. Wait. The fan and the power grid. The creator and the fan. That's the only relationship Thomas and I have. Because, like, we don't know each other. We're not, like, actual friends in real life. Like, for a period before this happened, like, he would respond to my stuff. I don't know if that's gonna happen after this, because I don't know if he's upset with how I reacted. Even though I know realistically he didn't see any of my messages. But there's that fear. And, like, it's not like there's never been, like, drama between me and Thomas before. Because, like, when I first posted my first reaction video, it was to learning new things about ourselves. I did not like the puppets. I was so scared of the puppets. And I made that very clear in my first reaction video. And, like, he tweeted it, and he was like, it was kind of hard to watch, but, like, it was a good reaction. And I freaked out because I thought I'd upset him, and I was, like, freaking out because I was like, I upset the Thomas Sanders. And that was a mess. And I feel like I've, like, overplayed it in my head. Because, like, that happened, like, 2 years ago, and I still freak out about that. Which I don't know why I'm crying. Because, like, it was 2 years ago. I don't know, just, like, the thought of Thomas thinking less of me is rough. And, like, I know, obviously, that he doesn't. Because, A, he barely knows who I am. And B, like, it's not like I haven't redeemed myself. It's not like I haven't showered him with praise ever since, up until now. Wow, this is turning out way more emotional than I wanted it to. Because, like, I do like Thomas a lot, and, like, I really look up to him a lot. How did this turn into a therapy session? I'm really just spewing thoughts at this point. I know that things aren't going to be the same now that I've left and have come back to the fandom as much as I want them to, so that's something that I'm going to have to be working on. But, like, it was cool working on it, even though it was kind of an implosion afterwards. Like, I wouldn't trade the experience away for the world. Because, like, I got to work with so many amazing people. I got to work for Thomas, even though he didn't really have anything to do with it. It was still cool. I got to do animation for pay for the first time ever. And that was so cool. And I learned so much, because that was kind of what kickstarted me getting back into animation. That was what got me into deciding to start, like, practicing and stuff, which I haven't done in a while. But, like, there were so many good things that came out of it, too. With the bad. Like I said, I don't think I can say I regret it, but I also can't say that I don't. Yeah. I don't really know how to end this. Like I said before, I'm not saying to not work for Thomas, because that would be super cool. Like, if you get the chance, absolutely do it. Because hopefully they're going to work on it and do better than they did with this. If the opportunity ever arises, I kind of doubt after all this that there will be another opportunity for me. But you know, if we ever get offered this again, under better conditions, then absolutely I will go for it again. Because it was really cool. I loved meeting all these people, getting to work for pay. So this was my experience with working for Thomas, and I guess the aftermath, with a lot of emotions, way more than I had been expecting to have. Yeah, go check out that Storytime Mad Libs video. If you see the part when Lady Gaga, or whenever the prince in Sleeping Beauty comes into the tower and sees the princess, Lady Gaga, in, like, that back band when he first walks into the room, that was me. I was the one who did that. Yeah, and then go check out all the other artists, because they are super nice. They are super cool people, and they deserve the world. So, go check them out too. They're in the description to that video. I guess that's all I have to say. Thanks for listening if you made it this far. Yeah, hopefully more animation stuff from me in the future. There's definitely at least going to be Prevail, even if there's no Sandersides. I don't know yet if there's going to be Sandersides in the future. I know I have at least one animatic that I'm working on, but Prevail is definitely going to stay. If you don't know what Prevail is my Ruby Sandersize crossover stuff. That's a super huge passion project for me. It's almost its own special interest at this point. So that's definitely going to continue, whether or not I stay. If I were to ever drop out of the Sandersize fandom or the Ruby fandom, that would still keep going. So the few of you who actually pay attention to that, because I know it's such a niche interest, few of you who do pay attention to that, don't worry, that's not going anywhere. That's all I gotta say. So, thanks for watching, and until next time, see you around, my royal family. Mwah.